Hello, guys. I'm Alicia Thompson. You're here with the Sports Circus, the Friday edition. You can catch the Saturday edition again on 9:20 a.m. The Game in Las Vegas, 102.3 FM, 106.5 FM, 10:50 a.m. at 8 a.m. Pacific time in the Los Angeles area. We have Sal Tuzzolini with us. Hello, Sal. How are you?
Life is great. Life is good. I'm sitting in my home office and I'm watching you kill it on there. Listen, you're doing just fine, and you got to realize all those people out there that are looking for my giant head, this big cranium. Don't worry, I'm still on the screen. It's just a little bit smaller now. Thank God for that. Oh, by the way,
yes.
By the way, this segment is brought to you by Legal Shield, helping everybody for less than $1 a day. That's right, less than $1 a day, whether it's speeding or court. You're in trouble. Guess what? Give them a call, 213-245-1305, 213-245-1305. That's Legal Shield. Give them a call today. Hurry up.
Yes. We want you to call Legal Shield. Thank you so much for that. We want you guys to be protected all the time, you and your family. So we were talking a little bit about women's basketball before the break. Now we're going to get a little bit into the men's basketball because, hey, they're competing and they're wanting an NCAA championship as well. Their tournament is going to be held in the Phoenix, Arizona area, or the Arizona area. A lot of teams competing. I know Kansas. I'm going to talk about Kansas first. Kansas versus Purdue. They won last night, 98-66. Sorry, they just Purdue. I'm sorry, Sal. They didn't make it. I know. It's a tough loss. Then you think about Kansas. I love Kansas. Kansas is just a great basketball team. Love them. Why? They produce good athletes. You know, you think about Rafe LaFrentz. He was the Big 12 Player of the Year in 1998 when I was elected the Big 12 Player of the Year. You think about Paul Pierce, played for the Boston Celtics. You think about Scott Pollard. Scott Pollard was a good player for them. I remember he used to paint his nails black all the time. People thought that was a little strange, but hey, the guy could play. He was a good basketball player. I mean, so Kansas, they're always going to be in the tournament. They're always going to upset teams. Rightfully so, they are a number one seed. I think they deserve that more than anything. They shoot really well from the free throw line at 77%. So they can beat a lot of teams. You know, you got to be able, especially during tournament time, to hit shots from the charity stripe. And believe it or not, a lot of teams get to that free throw line and they choke. They can't put the ball in the basket. And in these times, you have to put the ball in the basket to win NCAA championships. Strong defensive team. They always have really good, agile post players, big post players that just can move, get up and down the floor, big men that can get in there and bang with people, great rebounders. Got to talk about the Kansas Jayhawks because they're always going to do well. Sorry again, Sal, about the Purdue Boilermakers. We will send them much love. We think about Xavier. Xavier, another good team. I mean, flashy team. They're going to come in. They're going to also, very good defense. Give some teams some body checks and just go hard in the paint. Hey, Xavier's a good team. I'm looking forward to seeing this Kansas versus Xavier tonight. Think about Gonzaga. Wow. They are always a good team. Now, fundamental, that's Gonzaga. They're always fundamental. They're going to press the ball, do what they need to do, take their time in the offense, always produce, again, big, hefty, just centers, forwards, guys that can get in there and bang. You think of Adam Morrison. You remember Adam Morse? He looked like a Bee Gees guy with the hair. He would come in. Didn't look like he could hoop, but the guy was just amazing. Made it to the NBA. Those are the type of players, again, they don't look like athletes. They don't look like ballers, but they get out on the floor and, man, they'll roast you. I mean, they're just good, sound, fundamental players. Talk about Oregon. Okay, Oregon's another good team. They're going to play well. Think about the Oregon Ducks. Very good defensive team. They're going to come in. They've come in and upset some teams. And South Carolina. You think about South Carolina, I think they're kind of a good comparison to the women's team. They play like them. They're very patient. They're not going to try to play outside of the box. They're very hard workers. disciplined kids, conditioned kids. They're not going to try to do too much to win the game. They're going to do what they need to do to win the game. They actually upset.
Alicia, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, good. Yeah, before you start getting into the South Carolina debacle, I got to tell you, I mean, it's been a very rough week for me as far as college hoops go. And please save me the pain. I don't want to hear about what South Carolina did. Let's talk about what South Carolina very well could do, because they've got themselves a nice game coming up against, I believe, a Big 12 opponent, something you know about. And look, South Carolina is a highly underrated defensive team. And I got to tell you, I was one of those non-believers myself. I think most of the country, most of the NCAA country, the following, nonetheless, they really didn't know much about South Carolina because it's the Southeast Conference. They're not known for basketball. The ACC is. So therefore, the ACC tends to dominate in the NCAA world. We know that. The ACC, Big 12, Big 10, we don't see the SEC except football and baseball, right?
I agree. I totally agree. Yes, you think basketball, you have to go ACC, like you said, SEC, Big 10, Big 12. They're always going to have 8 to 10, even more, around in that range bids. That there are teams that get in. So yes, all good teams, all good athletes. I totally agree with you on that.
Right. And so when we think about South Carolina basketball, we don't really know what to make of it because, and I think a lot of the country has the same problem. They say, well, great, here's this SEC team that's playing pretty well, but we don't know enough about them because they don't get enough stress from whether it's ESPN or CBS or pick your favorite network or Fox. Actually, it's primarily ESPN because that's really who covers most of the college hoops. But what we also don't know, because we don't see them enough, is we don't know how dedicated their fans are to basketball. We already know from a football standpoint because SEC football pretty much, SEC and Pac-12 football really are the conferences of champions. As much as I'm a Big Ten ACC guy, I know for a fact that the SEC really owns the NCAA football world. So when we think about South Carolina basketball, it's sort of a misnomer. And what do we really know about them? I'll tell you what, Duke found out. And prior to that, South Carolina had another big upset prior to, I can't remember exactly who they lost to or who they beat. But my point is, South Carolina is a quality club, and I think they stand a real shot in tonight's game. Everybody's counting them out. I got to tell you, I counted them out against Duke. I thought they were going to lose by 30. Not so. You know, we already know what they're capable of. This is a team that makes superior second-half adjustments, and they really turn the tables on their opponent. They've done it 2 games in a row, 2 big wins in a row, and they won convincingly in both. It wasn't just a nail-biter. This is a team that dominated the last 10 to 15 minutes of the game. They stifled the other club completely.
Yes, and you got to love those teams that just come in and unexpectedly just kind of come in and whoop a team they're not expected to. But those are the fun. That's the fun thing about the tournament is the upsets. You know, you have those underdog teams that people say, they're gonna lose by 20, and then they come in and just play phenomenally. It's like those teams seem to click in this moment, and then they beat teams that they're not supposed to beat or not expected to beat, I should say.
Well, even the color commentators on ESPN were saying the same thing. They said, look, South Carolina wasn't the better team, or they're not the better team, but they were the better team that day. I mean, they really brought it. And you know what it's like to be the underdog. I know what it's like to be the underdog on the baseball field. It's the same thing for you in baskets. We know you could rise up and you could beat any team on any day. Anything can happen. Any 5 can beat 5. We know that.
Right.
And the difference is in the teams is that the recruiting is, from your bench going on down. That's where the difference is. So you think of a team like South Carolina that is loaded with defensive stars. So you say, well, what about their bench? We don't know much about them. Well, I'll tell you what, the NCAA, the men's NCAA is finding out right now just how good their bench and the recruiting is. So as a result, the reason I bring this up is that now the University of South Carolina, which is the real USC, they are the ones that are going to enhance the recruiting because they've done some damage in the tournament.
I agree. Yeah.
So that translates to bottom line for the university. So everybody wins at the University of South Carolina and in the SEC because why? They pulled a couple of really nice wins. I wouldn't even call them upsets. The way they played, it looked like that team, that could have been a picket. Any team could have won there, for certain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how far do you think South Carolina will make it? Do you think that they could go to that Final Four game?
Well, here's the thing. With the loss of Arizona and a stunning loss to Xavier last night, now this is a team that magically, I mean, Cinderella really has shown her face. This is the real Cinderella team that we've been looking for because it's not Xavier. Xavier's a top 25 team every year, year in and year out. How they are seated at 11 is beyond me. They don't belong 11. They belong maybe an 8, maybe a 7. Every year, it's a quality club. So I was really surprised that they were able to beat Arizona, although that win against Arizona opens the door for teams just like South Carolina. And remember, Maryland already took out Villanova on that side of the bracket too. So can South Carolina get to the championship game? Ironically, yes, they can. If all the cards and the stars align in their path, this could be Cinderella. We haven't seen her since Butler made it to the finals, and they lost 2 years in a row to Duke and University of Connecticut.
Speaking of Butler, they have a good shot. They're always a good team. Indiana team's really, really good. I know you're excited about that. Indiana produces good athletes. It's like when they're born, they don't get a bottle, they get a basketball. They start playing basketball at a very young age. It's like they're dribbling in the crib just about. So I'm always expecting Indiana teams, especially Butler, to do really well. Great team. They're fun to watch. Again, very fundamental. You just think fundamental teams, they know how to box out, they rebound, they play good defense. As we all know the saying, offense sells tickets, defense wins games, rebounding wins championships. They put all three together, and they always do a good job, during tournament time.
Well, what I like about Butler's, I like the way Butler is coached. They're one of the better coached teams in the country today. This is a team that has, of course, we know they've got great rebounding. They're fantastic at rebounding, but they've got a great inside-outside game. They bang down low. They're fantastic on the block, but they're also great on the pick and roll. This is a team that is going to give Carolina a lot of fits. And watch out, Carolina, because this is a team, despite your ranking as far as the rebounds of the country goes, Carolina could very well get upset in this game. And frankly, I don't think it's much of an upset. Carolina, outside the rebounding, they score, but they don't score with the same level that they have in the past. But see, Butler, because they play both sides of the ball, this is a team that could beat them on both ends, and that's a scary team. You know it, and I know it.
I agree. Have to be able to play both sides of the ball. You can't be a one-dimensional team. Offensive, yes. I tell my girls all the time, I don't care how many buckets we score. How can we play? Can we stop them from scoring? And you just have to put everything together. It's good to be score. I would much rather do the defensive first and then worry about the scoring later, because as long as you're stopping that other team, you can score 2 points. It could be 2-0, you win the game. But you have to stop other teams from scoring. You got to play both ends of the floor. Talk a little bit about Wisconsin and Villanova. Wisconsin, another good sound fundamental team. They, had a big upset actually against Villanova, winning by 3 points. I don't know if they were expected to win that, but they play a lot of that Hoosier type basketball. Wisconsin.
I don't know if that was such a big of an upset. I mean, yes, ranking wise, reigning national champion, yes, but look, Wisconsin has been there all year long at the top or near the top of the Big Ten. They've been right there with Purdue. And they play a game where Wisconsin will bore you to death. They will four-corner you. They will play the old Princeton four corners, and you'll crash and burn. You need a bottle of no-dose, sleeping bag, and pillow to watch their game. But you also realize that Wisconsin plays a very sound game down low, and they move the ball well. They play this against the zone very, very well. So I'm not so sure it would be such of an upset if they beat Villanova. And I look for Wisconsin potentially to be a Final Four team now that the path is opened up. So now think about Wisconsin with the possibility, the ridiculous possibility of playing South Carolina? What? Who would have thought that? I wouldn't have. Nobody had that in their bracket. No way, no how. That's why nobody has picked a perfect bracket.
No. I mean, I'm sure there's so many people whose brackets is just so messed up right now because you have these teams. And these are the teams that surprise people because they're not the flashy team. People want to see that flashy team. It's almost like Larry Bird. Larry Bird was definitely not the fastest player. He wasn't the most flashiest player, but Larry Bird put some hurting on some people. And these are these types of teams. They're not going to be that big alley-oop, like a Los Angeles Clippers style where they're just 360 dunking. They don't have to do that. They just execute the plays. They're patient within the offense, do what they need to do to put the ball in the hole. Good, sound, fundamental basketball is just about going to beat you every time if you know how to play the game and play it well and do it the right way. Listen to the coach. Make sure you're executing on both ends of the floor, knocking down shots, communicating on the floor. Those are the things that get these teams like Wisconsin in there. So It's always good to see those teams make it.
Well, and look, every year somebody wants to see, and I just said this, somebody wants to see the underdog, Cinderella, show up to the dance. Well, look, there's a couple of possibilities. Now, on the ladies' side, we already know what's going to happen there. It's just academic at this point. But on the men's side, it really does exist. The possibility exists. I mean, for real, it's not just, there's a 1 in 10,000 chance. No, this is actually real. It very well could happen. And, it's great for the sport. It's great for remember, we see the mid-majors, they show up. I mean, Butler made their move to the Big East, but, they were a Missouri Valley Conference team or the Horizon League. And this is a team that has made the transition in this horrible era of teams moving out of their conferences. We've seen the decimation of the old Southwest Conference. The old Southwest Conference was a great conference, right? And remember, the Pac-12 used to be the Pac-8. The Big Ten used to be actually 10 teams, but now it's 14 teams. But my point is, when these teams make their moves, a lot of times they'll go into their conferences and be stagnant. And we saw that in the Big East when DePaul made their move over to the Big East. And DePaul is just atrocious. When they were in their prior conference, or they were in Conference USA, they were able to win games because the level of competition and recruiting was even. But now DePaul still, after a decade, they don't win in the Big East. Butler, on the other hand, they do it right because they bring their Indiana kids, they recruit locally. This is a team that's ready to win today. Watch and see if Butler does upset. That's from Sal the bookmaker, not Sal the bookkeeper. You'll see that Indiana or that Butler has a real shot at winning not only today, but actually now that the door has been open, Butler can beat Kansas. Watch that one. Butler could win the national championship. I've been saying it all along, and I'm telling you, Butler's a team to really watch out for. South Carolina is going to be a fun one to watch. And, will Xavier advance beyond this next round? I don't know. Xavier's got a tough matchup in the next one, and I think that's going to be tomorrow, as a matter of fact. So, yeah, I wanted to remind everybody, by the way, and I know you talked about it at the top of the show and also at the beginning of the segment. Now, the Sports Circus has expanded to NBC Sports over in the greater Los Angeles area. You can listen to us live at 10:50 a.m. if you're in Orange, LA, Riverside, San Bernardino, San Diego counties, and that would be 10:50 a.m. Or if you're right there in the Inland Empire, you can listen on 102.3 FM and 106.5 FM. The Sports Circus is expanding. We've got more markets coming on. And of course, you can listen to us in the Las Vegas market at 9:20 a.m. Here on NBC Sports in Las Vegas. So things are getting very exciting. And, Alicia, I'm glad that you were able to come on today. I sort of threw you to the wolves to see how everything would go, and you've done very well. It's tough when you first get in there, but ultimately, as you get more airtime, the audience, they've seen your face a couple of times. They're going to see it again, and they're going to see it regularly because you are definitely a part of this show. And honestly, I'm very happy that you were able to join us today. And I want to thank our sponsor, of course, the WMLBA. Fantastic group. Janelle Bursch, you're doing a great job over there, and we hope to see you expand to the Southwest. Also, Legal Shield, protecting everybody for less than $1 a day. 213-245-1305. Give them a call today. For Alicia Thompson, our WNBA champion, and myself, Sal the Bookmaker. Everyone's great. We'll see you tomorrow, and have a great one. Tune in next week at the same time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.